Yay!
Everybody, we have Michele Drees here with us.
Wow.
Wow.
Now,
Hi, Chiara. Thank you for inviting me. You're so kind.
that's all right.
Thank you
Now,
for coming.
yeah, thank you for coming.
I had a very busy schedule, a lot of gigs and rehearsals, and I had to cancel a lot of gigs to be
I know. Tell
Sorry.
me about it.
joke.
So, Michele, you've played with Mark Almond, Kirsty MacColl, Seal, Katie Lang, Suzanne Vega, as well as many others.
Should I be wearing a tux for this?
Next week.
All right.
So I just want to know, I mean, I read that you started tap dancing and drumming at the very same time.
Yes.
Tell us how it all started.
You'd like to know about my tap dance connection, would you?
And drumming, both.
Well, there's a little story here. It won't take very long. When I was little, I was obsessed with tap dance. I used to watch all the 40s musicals with Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly and everything. Then I saw Stormy Weather with the Nicholas brothers. And you have to understand, you have to put these things in context, because I was living in Cornwall in a little village with one pub, one church, one shop, next to the Helford Estuary, which was gorgeous. And so, when you see the Nicholas brothers on that dance sequence, I think Fred Astaire said was the greatest tap sequence ever put on film, and it is, basically. And I saw it, as a little girl, like 7. It was just like, I was absolutely smitten, and it felt to me like they was from Mars, and
Maybe they were.
pardon?
Maybe they were.
I wonder. So I ran back up to London when I was 19 and took up tap dance and drumming. I was always drawn to rhythm, so but initially it was the tap that attracted me. And then I was a very late starter. I didn't start till I was about 19, and then being in Cornwall in a little village called Morgan in League, you don't have such things as tap dance classes or drumming classes. So I took them up, and they ran parallel for about 10 years. And then I got into the Guildhall on a jazz course, and the tap teacher I had at the time moved to the States, and Maggie Love, her name was. She was amazing, and I've not been able to track her down. So my drumming took over. I went to the Guildhall, left the Guildhall, and that's when I went on. I was very lucky for about 15 years doing lots of good work. I was also very young then. Things changed.
Well, I'm not sure luck has any much to do with it, because if you got the gigs, it was because you were good,
Yes, but, and I don't really want to touch on the female thing, but certain gigs that I got were because they wanted an all-female band, like the Jonathan Ross House Band. I was in there for a season. Players like Jeanette Mason and Yolanda Charles has gone on to super heights, but they wanted an all-female band. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but at the end of the day, we are just drummers, Chiara, and we want to work. I mean, I've been asked this so many times. I sort of covered every possible answer you could to this thing about the female issue. But at the end of the day, we're hardworking musicians, and we just want a gig. We want to work. We want those opportunities. So those opportunities did come because they specifically said, some things on Top of the Pops, like Seal. Actually, I remember Ian Thomas was doing Seal at the time, and the Top of the Pops, they wanted an all-female thing backing him. So of course I did it, and then I bumped into Ian at the 606, and he said, "Oh, I see that you got the gig on Top of the Pops, and I said, well, you got the album, you see. This was just the show, you know, the novelty thing. I was a novelty for many years. I'm not a novelty anymore, Chiara.
I think you're great.
Huh?
I think you're great.
I know, I'm just joking. I've got a terrible humour. Anyway, that you know, so the tap thing was really that, you know, sparked that love of rhythm, and I was so taken with tap. I have a lot of memorabilia from when I was a kid, and then I stopped doing tap. My drumming took over, and that's all I was doing, drumming. And then I was with an amazing band called Badmarsh and Shree for 5 years, drum and bass agent. Shree's amazing. Anyway, so I was with that group for about 5 years. And then as things go, things change, and I left it, and I had a bit of a crisis. And I sort of lost it a bit for about a year, and I lost my passion. I didn't know what I was doing. I got really depressed. I mean, I can talk about it now. I'm out of it, but at the time, I wouldn't dream to tell anybody. You know, I think it's because I'm quite private, really. But I mean, those sort of things. And since I have opened up about that time, which was 14 years ago now, it's amazing how many people do go through this, you know, they fall out of love with what you're doing, because I've been doing it for over 35 years now, so it's like, if not 40, and you know, to keep that passion going all the time, you know. And anyway, I had this crisis of I'm telling you because there's a real reason for telling you this. So I went through this year of not knowing what I was doing anymore, losing my, I remember even lying about somebody rang me up for a gig, and I said, no, I'm busy, and I wasn't. So I was really taking myself back, excusing myself, because I didn't know much, and then about what I wanted to do anymore. And then this little voice went. I thought to myself, how do I get the passion back for what I'm doing? And the little voice said, go back to tap dance. You know, do something for yourself that you used to love. And that little voice said, go back to tap. The next day, I got my old tap shoes out, and literally they'd been sitting there for 19 years at the back of the, and they were full of spiders and thick dust. Like, I'm exaggerating, but they were disgusting. Anyway, I got them off and started looking for a tap class. And of course, England, we're very good at theatre tap and the grades. That's really what it's about over here. I had no blinking idea what was going on in the States in the 19 years that I hadn't tap danced. It's phenomenal. And my mind, for the next few years, my mind just kept getting blown. But I realised all this stuff was going on. And I found the London Tap Jam people after a year putting my shoes on. I'd been going to theatre tap and not being really happy with it, and theatre tap. But it brought back this passion into my life. So the tap dance really saved my arse, because by getting that, my derriere.
Oh no, you swear all you like.
and I suddenly and I found a flyer for a musicality workshop for tap dancers. So I went along, and it's quite funny because I had my drumsticks in my bag as well, because it was almost like protection. And I went in, and they were doing this improvising stuff, and I joined in, and then I said, if you like, I can tap some rhythms. I'm a drummer. And then I went in the middle, and I was tapping rhythms to the tappers, and they were tapping back. And honestly, I left on cloud 9. And then since then they found out I was a professional musician, and my love for tap. And they were just moving to Ronnie's, so they said, would I bring my trio in and play for the London Tap Jam? And that was nearly 14 years ago. And then the Jazz Tap project has grown out of that. I started doing, I was doing that once a month, and then I asked Junior Lanyon, who was the main guy, along with Melody Lander, they started it, and Dan Sheridan, I have to mention him. And I invited him into a jazz gig I think at the 606, I said, look, my trio is playing, come and be the fourth member. And then that's how the Jazz Tap project started. And there you have it.
That's
Thank you for
awesome.
having me. Goodbye.
But do you in the Jazz Tap project, do you just play or do you tap as well?
You know what? I'm very, very lucky because I have probably the best tap dancers in England dancing with the band. And I've had a few. You know, at the moment it's Scott Cripps and Adele Joel. She's wonderful. And I've invited some of the greatest tap dancers of the day to come and tap with us. You know, Jason Samuel Smith, Heather Cornell, these Andrew Nemmer, these people, extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. And what's so great, I'm going around the houses a bit. What's so great is it's brought back a passion for my drumming, and it was quite an incredible thing that happened to me. That little voice saying, "Go back to tap." The tap dance, it just brought me back in, and I'm in love with it again. And I'm combining the two loves of my life. And will I ever tap in my band? It's a bit embarrassing because they're also blinking good. I mean, there's a thing called the Eddie Brown chorus, which I've been learning. I've learned a couple of the choruses, and I've always said that at some point I will get up and just do the Eddie Brown with somebody once, and then get off the stage where I'm down behind the kit. But,
Well, I just wanted to know, like, I'm sorry, I have not come to a gig yet, and that is on my to do once this lockdown is over. And I want to know, how does it work? It sounds magical, like you're playing, they're tapping. Is it happening simultaneously, or do you have little spotlights? Like, it just sounds brilliant.
good question. Basically, I mean, quite often if you have a tap dancer in a band, you know, it'll be the trio over there, and then they'll come up and they'll do the little thing and clap, everybody goes off, and that's it. What we've tried to do is, the tap dancers are musicians. They are treated the same as the musicians. They a lot of the numbers that we have, we do Yatrata by Tanya Maria. The whole head is choreographed with the tap to fit inside the head. And then people will take a solo, uh, like any of the musicians, and then drop out again. So they really are part of the band. And I mean, over the last 7 years, we've now got some fantastic numbers. In fact, we were just about to record the album, so everything is on hold until after the lockdown. And I feel so lucky because I've invited some tap masters from New York that are going to come and play. You know, do
Wow, that's cool.
incredibly exciting. And I get sometimes I get sad. You know, sometimes I get very sad because tap was so important to me. And I'm very happy that I have now a vehicle to help the tap dancers over here, bring them into gigs, and not just a novelty tap dancer, you know, really inside the music. But I'm sad because I stopped for 19 years and there wasn't a scene over here. Really, there was Tobias Tack and Junior. Tobias unfortunately died last year, but I mean, there was a little bit going on. But honestly, when I started finding out what was happening in the States, oh my goodness gracious me, you won't believe it. It's extraordinary. And I feel a bit sad because I stopped and I'm not. I can tap, of course I can. They all love it when I get up at the tap dance, at the tap jam, because I don't have this super fast technique, but I swing and I got good phrases. And you know, it's very hard for me, and I'm not sort of blowing my own trumpet, but it's very hard for me to go out. Even if it's just this, basic swing. But I don't have a great deal of technique. But I love to get up and do that. But why am I telling you that? It's a little bit sad that it's sort of almost passed me by. I'm a bit older now, and the young.
It doesn't sound like it has passed you by.
Mm.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like that at all.
Don't you think like maybe you wouldn't, you know, you wouldn't be where you are if it wasn't for that little voice. But maybe, you know, it's okay that you had a little break from it, because now you've got this invigorated love and passion, and you're combining the two. You know, I don't think it's like a wasted time or
No,
anything like that.
14 years ago. No, it wasn't a wasted time, and I think we have to embrace these dark things that happen too, and accept them for what they were. I mean, if I hadn't have gone through that year, if I hadn't have been got to rock bottom and had to work out what my passion was again, I might never have listened to that little voice. You know, getting still for a while, just getting really still.
Mm.
And even if you hadn't stopped with tap dancing, it could have happened that you would be burned out of both of them.
Mm.
You know, the same way you got burned out from drumming, you could have gotten burned out from tap dancing. And today we wouldn't be having this conversation.
This is true.
You know, so what ifs are what ifs, and we shouldn't worry about them. That's all.
No, I agree. I'm I don't mean to use the word content, but I'm happy with my lot at the moment.
Cool.
All right.
I have a question um, about, well, actually, it's probably the perfect person, but you have a love for Brazil, don't you?
I do.
How did this come about? Tell us about it. I would love to know. I'm intrigued.
Thank you. That was my question. Just kidding.
Sorry.
Well, oh, how can I start? If I swing this round, oh no, I'll go and get it off my wall. This album, if I can get it out. This album, and it's signed by the great man himself. I took it to Ron as I said I needed to meet him. There's a track on this album called The Call. I think it's called The Call, is it? Called Chamada.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's just Toninho Horta on guitar and Milton. And he's singing about, let me get this right, it's been a long time since the mermaids of the forest, basically. And it's just this haunting voice and this amazing guitar. It's the most incredible track. And I heard it when I was about 17, and it made me cry. And it just brought all this emotion out. And I'd never heard anything. I think because I've come from such a small village, a lot of things. My cat's just come in. Hello, Mumpy. Hello. He's very talkative. He might join in.
All right. We'll ask him a couple of questions.
No, but I heard this track, and it was wonderful. Come here. It was really great, and sorry about it. It brought up a lot of emotion for me, and then I'd never experienced anything like that, and I have never lost that, Philippe. I've never lost that for Brazilian music. It's the only music. I know I'm a bit of a jazz player, and I play Latin and salsa and some funk and all that, but the one music that gets to my heart every single time is Brazilian music. There's something about and the writers, they're all poets. The lyrics are extraordinary, and the chords. Anyway, I'm just moved. I'm very moved by Brazilian music, and to me, that's the most important thing. And that's actually what I tell my students, because this is my little very homely studio. I've been teaching for about 25 years now here, and I say to them all, whatever gets you, if you hear something and it makes your ears prick up, you go, what's that? Follow that every single time, because then eventually you're constantly learning things that you love, and you will develop your own voice because you've followed your heart. And hackles just went up. Yeah, you have to follow your heart. It's really true. I love it. I love Brazilian music. I sing and play very badly. No, I don't actually. I have a little a good Sonhos do Brasil. I sing in Portuguese and play guitar, bossa nova. In fact, I'm going to be recording an album with that. It had 2 albums planned this year,
Cool. It's
and
gonna happen. It's gonna
I
happen.
might record it in because I go to Brazil for a month for January. Mostly, I have great friends that I've known for like 30 odd years.
How many times have you been to Brazil?
Ooh, half a dozen, half a dozen. There was a big. I first went in '98, and then when my daughter was 2, and then I had a bit of a break while she was growing up, about 10 years or so. And then I try and go every year now. Obviously, I can't go this year. I'll go in January. I go and I try and have some lessons with people. As you know, Philip, I went to Vida's studio and went
Yeah. Mhm.
come on and had a lesson with Celso Dalmeida, who's Jose Passos' drummer. Oh my God.
That man is from another. I think he's from Mars as well.
But he has just an incredible feeling, and it's just, I mean, he obviously, you see him with Banda Mantequera, and he's playing out and doing amazing stuff. But his feel, and you hear him with Jose Passos, and I just die for it. So that's what I'm trying to do, really. I'm trying to be Brazilian.
Well, some try to be Brazilian, some try not to be Brazilian. That's life.
Mm, love it though, I really love it.
You got a
Um,
question, Felipe?
Yes, I did, but then you asked it.
Oh,
this is a wine, by the way. I've said this already.
Yeah, I think it is. You've been telling us so
yeah.
often that I think you're
Yeah.
trying to, deceive us. That's okay. You can
Yeah.
drink wine.
This isn't vodka.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is coffee, by the way. Yeah.
How did you come to hear any Brazilian music? Like from someone growing up in a really small village, who put you onto that? Or do you remember the moment where you're like, whoa, what is this? I need to listen to it right now.
I think there were little drips and drabs, and then when I moved to London when I was 19, and then you're mixing with other musicians. People have just bought an album, and you all go around and you listen to it, and then you hear something, you go, "Oh my goodness, what's that?" In the early days, I was playing with Paul Rumble. He's still got this band called Vidamundo. They've been going for about 25 years, 30 years or something. And I was a drummer with them for about the first 5 years, and that's how I sort of learnt, first got into playing Brazilian music with them.
So, yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago, you put on a lovely drum day, which I was involved in, and it was lovely, and it was basically for drummers, and we all happened to be female. And I just wondered, what are your hopes and your expectations for the future as a female drummer? And so 2 questions, that's one. And 2, what have you seen change?
Okay, the future's very bright. There's hundreds of young women now playing. They're getting all their technique and reading and playing live loads, and some of them are fantastic. So the future is sorted, basically. I think this will slowly start to go away. I've thought about this over the years. I mean, I kept my head down because I wanted to work. At the end of the day, I am just a bloody musician. I want to work and I want to get those gigs. And for those times when they wanted an all-female band, it would. It was like half a dozen of one and six of the other. I'm very grateful to get the gig, yeah. But it's only because they think it's cool to have a girl, But it shouldn't really matter.
Mm.
Well, yeah, I've been discriminated against loads of times over the years. I mean, I like to think that I've developed this persona where I can sort of I try and go in really positive in every single situation, and try and be just friendly and happy and chirpy and to get on with it and do a good job. Um, I think the one thing, the reason I put on that drum day, and I will be absolutely honest with you now, and I didn't say in the posters it's all female. I didn't want to do that, but it was a direct reaction to the London Drum Show again being 100% guys on stage. And I thought, in this day and age, this shouldn't be happening. There's plenty of really great female. And until that issue goes away about gender, and it's probably going to take a lot longer, I mean, we're fighting decades, centuries of being discriminated against. It's only since the 70s that we've really had women's lib. I mean, the way women are viewed in society is pretty negative, I would say. There's not, there's not a great deal. Women can't command that sort of respect, when you get up to sort of companies and CEOs and being listened to by people and being respected. That is an issue.
I have a question for both of you, actually. Because years ago I went to see a friend of mine play, and she was playing with her band in a pub near Brixton. And I've heard the most amazing comment coming from two women behind me. Her band started playing. Obviously, she's a drummer. Her band started playing, and when they were halfway through the second song, this woman behind me said to her friend, "She plays really well for a girl." So a woman said that. I was like, "What?" So now my question is, for example, they have a contest in the U.S. I don't know if it's for the whole world, but they have a contest called "Hit It Like a Girl." How do you feel about this kind of stuff? Like, I'm not even going to the contest thing, but why? First of all, why do you have to have a contest just for women? And and how do you feel with the name of it, like "Hit It Like a Girl"?
Well, because being like a girl, usually say to, they say, "Oh, you play real bullocks." I always say, "Well, I play with real ovaries," you know, and this thing about it, "Oh, don't be such a girl." It's such a put down to be a girl, and that goes back to this ingrained thing that girls aren't good enough. They're not, just not good enough. It's just crazy. If the contest is needed, then let it be. If it's going to encourage the next run of young girls, and some of the drummers on that are fantastic, I've had a look. So, and maybe it's just needed. We're just not ready for it to be non-gender yet. It may take another 50 years. I don't know, Kiara, what do you think?
Well, the comment that you heard is a shame, but I actually think it comes from a place of not knowing, not having the examples as many, like, maybe lots of youngsters will know loads of male drummers just because they're out there, or there's more examples of them. I don't know, there are just more male drummers in the know, I suppose, or on MTV or whatever. MTV, no one watches MTV now, but I feel like there's just a lack of examples, possibly. So I always say to people, because people say to me all the time, "Oh wow, it's awesome, female drummer, woo!" And I just say there are so many, and all you need to do is go on Instagram and type in hashtag female drummer, and you'll be blown away, because it's just not an issue. There are so many. It's awesome. So I just think people just aren't aware yet, and I agree with you, Michelle, it just needs to catch up a little bit, but I think it's definitely on the way there. As for the contest, I'm not particularly a massive fan, but I will say, if it's going to encourage young girls to do it, and I also read somewhere about women have a different view on competition, like they're less likely to enter than men. And so in a way, Hit Like a Girl, because that we're all female, it makes it a safer place. And so I think from that point of view, great, you know, if it's going to encourage women to drum, I'm all for it. Yeah, but in the end of the day, you can't freaking tell when you're listening to a CD or MP3. God, all these old-fashioned terms, MTV, CD. What's your view on it?
My view?
Yeah.
I think I I don't like the competition thing. I know it's a very American thing, especially because of the drum corps thing. But you know, especially because it's not a judge who's going to say who's the best musician. It's the public who's going to say not even who's the best musician, but what music do they like. I'm not a big fan of competition. Uh, Now I can see why you need a all female competition because of your explanation, but I really think that the name "Hit It Like a Girl" is a very unfortunate name.
Yeah.
They should have thought a little bit longer about it. I particularly don't like, especially because I come from a family of three very, very, very strong women. Both my grandmas and my mother are like unbelievable, you know. So I think it's almost like let's put let's put the women in their own in their own place. Like this is a competition for women, and it's called "Hit It Like a Girl." Um, my mother wouldn't have it.
No, I Yeah, I agree. I don't particularly like it, but you know, it's this thing about you're such a girl trying to change it to something
Yeah.
positive rather than a negative.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's what they're going for. So good luck.
Yeah, let's go back to music. So you have two recording projects for when this craziness ends.
Yes,
And the jazz tap thing, you're going to be playing drums,
yes,
and the bossa nova thing, you're going to be playing guitar and singing. Is that
yes.
correct? And who's going to be playing drums?
Well, me.
First of all, not me because I was born in Brazil, but I don't sound like a Brazilian drummer at all. So I'm not asking for a job. You can say now.
The idea for that one is I've got a couple of dear friends in São Paulo, and I might get them to do the strings on it. I will probably record the drums myself, but I would like to get a couple of percussionist friends to do some stuff on it as well. So it might even all be recorded over there, actually.
Cool.
Very
In
cool.
January, we're out of this mess.
I think, well, I just went to the shop now to buy water, and I can tell that unofficially we are out of this mess because I've never seen so many people out and about in a long time.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's like around my studio here seems like there's no lockdown or anything.
I think that's daft.
You
There was
know.
a cartoon that came up yesterday with these fish that were outside of the fish tank with their American flags and little guns and said, "You can't make us stay inside." And they're outside of the fish tank.
Well,
Comes
they
up.
are right. You cannot make them, but you know, if you want to go out, you go, but you have to face the consequences of leaving your fish tank.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
You know.
We don't have too long left, but I'm wondering about your views on practice. If you do practice, what are you working on?
That's a good question. Well, I have a massive drum library, which is behind the computer. Um, I've been actually working on a lot of finger techniques, like getting my fingers, especially for my left hand, it really drives me up the wall. So I've been trying to. In fact, I spoke to you about this ages ago, and I think it's all in my head actually. But this unsureness about your left side. I do anyway. Yeah, a lot of finger stuff I've been doing recently.
Try to. Sorry, I don't know if that's the place for it, but
No,
try to play. So I'll shut up. Try to play your hi hat with the left hand.
open. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're converting everyone to that, aren't you?
No, just saying if she wants to work on her left side, that's the easiest way that you don't need to think too much about it. People will do whatever they want. I'm not 100% converted to that because I still have my right symbol on the right side.
Right.
Oh, okay.
The concept is open-handed.
Yeah. I've got a couple of really nice books I got in New York from Berkeley Books, which they're amazing. So I've got those, and I always go back to that. And I've got the Master Studies, Joe Morello. I've been using that a lot recently. But I have so much choice with my practice. And I also got Christiana Hoscher's book, which is great. You know them.
Well, he has 3 books. Which one do you have?
I play, and the other.
Bateria Brasileira.
Yeah, I've got 2 of them. So yeah, a lot of that I've been working on. And Andre Tandetta, he gave me his book when I was over there. So I've got a lot of, and what's the other stuff I've been working on? The Latin stuff. I've been getting together with a percussionist and just working on like Wawanko, Songo, various things, Mozambique. We've just been, she comes over here and we play together, and that's really good. So really, yeah, I've been tipping a bit more towards the Latin recently. Yeah, a lot of finger exercises, and the Brazilian thing never goes away. I'm always dipping into that. I'm a bit of a dipper with my books. I'll go and look and say, oh, I remember that, and oh, that is good, and then I'll put it out and play it. I don't go sort of cover to cover, but who does? Do you?
No.
Depending on the book, I've done some cover to cover. Yeah.
Ah. But yeah, good. Yeah, so that's it. That's me. Do want a gig, just want a gig, want to work as much as I can when all this is over. I actually last night for June 2021.
There you go.
That was going to be so weird. I was thinking, God, going to a gig now, packing up my drums.
What do you think? What do you think is going to happen in the near future with because okay, let's imagine next week lockdown's over, everything back to normal, COVID's dead. What do you think is going to happen in the near future, like before August or September? Do you think? Do you think?
I don't think there'll be any gigs. It's a shame because I've got Love Supreme coming up. We had an outside festival on the South Bank with the Jazz Tap Project. Fantastic open air festival. It's all gone. There's loads of stuff with Tricity. That's all gone. I don't think we're going to be. I think gigging and pubs are going to be the last thing to open up. I don't want to sound depressing, but I was hoping it maybe September. Or maybe they could compromise and say, okay, outside concerts, we're going to have a lot more outside concerts. I don't know. Who knows? Clue.
Have you tried anything online?
No, and I don't have a desire to either, because there's so much out there, and it's. I don't really want to do that. Rather just bring myself down to what I'm doing here myself. I do have a bit of an aversion to. There's so many drum videos out there, people doing amazing things. Sounds like I'm being a snob, but I don't really want to be doing that. Maybe I'll do one in the future, but I don't feel the need to do it. And maybe it's because I'm a bit older now, and I think I've done a lot of good work, and I'm just all I want to do is work. When we open up, I want to carry on gigging. until I die, basically. I want to keep working. I want the opportunities to work. I don't want to be discriminated against, and I want to be good enough. And that's basically what I would like to happen. Having said that, I might do one drum thing at some point. I've got a Brazilian thing in mind. One of Chris.
You should do a drumming tap dance thing.
Yeah.
Well, there are quite a few things on YouTube, and we've got our show reel, which is like some of the best concerts all put together in a little show reel, but it's only a few minutes long as well. The reason why I didn't do an album, that's a very good question before we finish. The reason why I didn't record an album, because tap is so visual. And I just thought, well, maybe we should do a DVD. Oh, maybe we could do an album. Maybe it would work. No. So I kept putting it off, thinking film is going to be much better. And I've got gigabytes of films. I've had it recorded professionally 3 times now, and it's all sort of sitting on my hard drive along with the drum tape, Chiara. One day I'll get it. All this editing that has to happen. But I think it will be an album. It has to be an album, and with maybe some extra videos, things attached to it. I don't know, something like that. Interesting.
Cool.
Right.
Cool.
Awesome. Okay, last question. You have to have dinner with 3 other drummers, dead or alive. Go.
Max Roach, Kiko Freitas, and Colin Bailey. There you go.
That's a trio.
Yeah.
That's a nice trio to have dinner with.
Yeah. Or Vera, but I'm going to have hopefully dinner with Vera in January.
Exactly, yeah.
And Lilian Carmona. I was just watching her stuff yesterday. In fact, she dropped her Yakutar on my wall. It's amazing. She taught Ramon when he was 7, I think. Do you know about her?
Very little, because she's very, very, very private. She released her first album 3 years ago.
This is very interesting.
And she's in her 60s.
Right.
Wow.
Well, I'm sort of following suit in a way. Yeah, I need to do some more research on her.
Yeah, she has worked a lot as a drummer. A lot of the greatest Brazilian drummers have been her student, but she hasn't, as a leader, she hasn't done much.
But this is a very similar story to me. But not teaching so much. I was gigging all the time, gigging, and I've not really done my own album, but I'm going to do it now.
Yeah.
I was talking yesterday, and she sent me her details for São Paulo. And I said I want to meet her in January. So we're setting that up now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up here, because that sounds really, really cool. Keep us updated with all your stuff, and maybe we'll do another catch up next year. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Good luck with what you're doing here.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Inviting me. I appreciate that.
You're so welcome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.